Good Tuesday morning to you, everyone. It is just after 9 o'clock on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Mayoral, and we're hitting some sprinkles. It's not the greatest start to the morning, but we definitely got that much-needed soaker, especially yesterday afternoon. Chris Mulcahy is in the Live Impact studio this morning. What else is in store today?
The main thing is it's going to stay cloudy. And I think you're going to see less and less rain as you work your way through the day. But yeah, yesterday you didn't receive as much rain as you might have thought. It was moderate to heavy at times, but all in all, it was only about a half inch on average across the Charlotte area, even a little bit of less, and the highest total I saw was just shy of an inch. So it was anywhere from about a quarter to an inch of rain across the board. Really not too bad, and as of right now, we're just seeing that on and off rain that we're going to consistently see. And the biggest deal that we have actually in the near term is this rain is going to take a big step back. So what you're looking at right now is our future cast, what it's going to look like right around noon. And the reason why we're even getting rid of this rain is because Imelda is saying a goodbye. So as Imelda is saying bye-bye, we are expecting that moisture source to get pulled away, and then that's going to erode a lot of the rain. So as we roll tape here, you can expect on and off shower during the afternoon. Here's 4 o'clock. I think more so it's going to stay dry. And also I think that we're going to start to erode a lot of that cloud cover as well. Now, I still think that overcast sky, expect that, but then there might be a little bit of brighter hope going forward. And then by tomorrow morning, I think we're dealing with some patchy, dense fog from place to place, some lingering clouds for that cloud cover eventually is going to wind down. I want to show you 3 different camera examples and their temperatures. Right now it's 66 degrees over Monroe. We have 66 also over Charlotte. If you look at it, it's a cloudy sky, but I've been calling it really almost a brighter cloudy day. So at times I think you're going to have more of the white clouds compared to those really darker ones that we're going to see. Still, sometimes it might feel like it's going to rain from place to place, and some spots might even see a little bit of Carolina blues starting to pop up as well. 58 degrees, a little bit on the foggier side, right around the Boone area going forward. And then heading into tomorrow, we can expect some cooler lows and even cooler beyond that. So our current temperature right now is 66 degrees. Our low for this morning, I believe, is 64, 65 across Mecklenburg County, and then 63 tomorrow. But then after that, lower to the mid-50s. And am I allowed to say the F word here on the stream?
What is that?
We have a chance for frost.
Yeah, frost, yes.
Yeah, okay, just want to make sure. Yeah, okay.
Yep,
All of a sudden they're like,
Fudge.
Fudge, yeah. No, so on Friday morning, now this is for the Charlotte area, we are not looking at frost, but up on top of, say, Mount Mitchell and Grandfather Mountain, temperatures are likely dropping down into the mid-30s, and if the winds stay calm enough, there's a chance for our first frost of the season up there. Now, it's going to be very close, not a guarantee, but just letting you know that we are starting to hit the time of the season that things are starting to get a little bit cooler, a little bit crisper. And here's an example what it's like right around Sugar Mountain area for our lows. You can expect really the 40-degree point possible on Friday morning. So Sugar Mountain's about a mile up roughly, close to about 5,200 feet. Beach Mountain, I think, is 5,500. Mount Mitchell is much higher, around 6,000. So you can expect a little bit closer to that freezing point. So that's the reason why there is a slight chance of frost there. But hey, I thought I would mention it. It's also heading into October, one of our really cool times of year that we start to see the change over to our fall foliage. And we saw a slight change around Boone as we were up there just for the anniversary of Helene. But they've had this campaign for over 6 months now, Bounce Back. NC High Country, we're open. And it's this year more than ever. And the one thing we really learned this past week is that October is one of their biggest cash cows. So I highly recommend, if you haven't been up in a while, certainly we weren't able to go up last year, go take a ride on the Blue Ridge Parkway. Go spend the day in Blowing Rock, just because even you going out to eat with the family is a big difference maker there. So this photo is actually from Leslie Restivo on Sunday, and you can actually see a pretty visible changeover in general. And our forecast for today, if you are going up to the mountains, It's going to be a little bit chillier side, high temperatures in the lower 60s. Not a lot of sunshine to go around, but things get a little bit better after that. But the most recent update is that we're now at a high color around Grandfather Mountain. We're around a moderate changeover around Beach Mountain and Sugar Mountain, and roughly around the Rough Ridge Trail and the Lynn Cove Viaduct, if you know those places, if you've ever stopped along the Blue Ridge Parkway. And then Banner Elk Boone, where we mentioned, I think it's about a 15 to 20% changeover, so nothing really super high at this point. But this photo is actually from yesterday. I'll pop up. This is directly on top of Grandfather Mountain. Seeing a really visible change over there. So this is what a high color looks like. Not completely changed, not at its absolute peak, but it's actually typically within the next 7 days that we have our peak on top of Grandfather Mountain. And then I have that same graphic that I was just showing you, but this shows kind of the general or average date that we hit our peak per elevation. So around the Lynn Cove Viaduct, that's about 4,200 to 4,700 feet up. That's where we hit the peak around October 12th. Now, the Bannerel, the Boone, Blowing Rock area, a good portion of the Blue Ridge Parkway as you're driving through Watauga County, anywhere from that 3,000 to 4,000 foot range. That's about by week 2 to 3 of October. So anywhere from about the 17th to the 21st, and then the further you go down around Chimney Rock, usually hits their peak around the 24th to the 31st around Halloween for Asheville, and then it's below that for the Hickory area, Morganton. You usually see it for the first week of November, and that's where we also start to hit our peak around the Charlotte area as well. So I just wanted to dedicate some time talking about leaf peeping, because we are hitting the time of year that I highly recommend that you start planning for some of these events, because it's flying by, y'all. I'm working this weekend, so I can't do a lot. But if you think about it, it'll be Halloween before you know it. You have pumpkin picking, you have apple picking if you like to do that, leaf peeping possible, and also the Renaissance Festival. Now, the Renaissance Festival luckily goes until about Thanksgiving, so you have time for this. But it's a near perfect weekend for it. Oftentimes, for the first opening weekend, it can be super hot and sizzling. Instead, we're going to be around 80 degrees and direct sunshine. Of course, it can be a little bit more. We do see a rain chance arrive on Sunday, but it's a pretty decent opening weekend, especially since we are heading into a nice little drying trend overall. So I like in general where things are going. So a closer look at our 7-day forecast. We have a high temperature around 80 degrees tomorrow, a nice little rebound. We will see temperatures settle down with lows in the 50s, highs in the mid to the upper 70s heading into the weekend. And boy, do we have a big weekend. We're talking about the Roval 400, a Panthers home game, every festival you can think of. What was it, Kids Fest that you interviewed yesterday on Saturday? But Sunday, you have everything going on. So, yeah, plan whatever you want to do outside. Don't miss out on this. Great weather. Even that 20% chance for rain, I don't think that's going to ruin anything, ruin a game. Of course, more problematic if it does have a quick burst of rain for NASCAR, where there could be a delay there. But in general, it is looking like a much drier forecast in general. I think better chances heading into early next week overall. Outside of that, that's pretty much wrapping up the forecast of the bow. I will give one more update just on Imelda in general. Okay. So Imelda officially is no longer Tropical Storm Imelda. It is actually Hurricane Imelda. That was per the 8 a.m. advisory. Winds right now at about 75 miles per hour, and will continue to grow so. And then you can see just in general the size of the system is starting to become a lot more organized. This will likely start to challenge major hurricane status, and this is not just a fish storm, because Imelda already has a history. There was one death that was officially reported in Cuba from Imelda just as a wave. That was actually pre-Imelda. And then we're also looking at a potential direct impact with Bermuda, and that's going to be happening over the next few days, and this system is going to be flying overall. So it's something that they want to watch. The National Hurricane Center is already starting to look into it. Here's what the path in general is looking like. Hurricane Imelda is likely going to continue to grow into a stronger Category 1 over the next day or so. By tomorrow afternoon, it's starting to near Category 2 strength. And when it passes St. George and Bermuda, that looks to be late on Wednesday into Thursday. So that's tomorrow. It's going to be flying. Luckily, it's going to be a quick-moving system. That's going to limit the amount of rain. Bermuda's also a smaller island. That does help out. But it's going to be around 100-mile-per-hour winds. I think if it does become a major hurricane, it'll happen at some point from around sunrise to sunset on Wednesday. So there's still a lot of question marks there. But I think it's most interesting about this longer range forecast is what happens afterwards, because we're actually looking at Umberto to die out, and Imelda to potentially just kind of combine into this system in general, which is a very rare setup just to see. So let me see. Let's show you this. Here's the dual storms. What you're actually going to see for the nearest change is Umberto officially is no longer a major hurricane. It's Category 2. But watch. You're going to see the path end a little bit early. And that's going to be in general on Thursday. And if you compare the times, you have 2 a.m. to 2 p.m. for the two to align there. And what you're actually looking at is the potential for these two to combine. I was mentioning the Fujiwara effect. Well, that very much is a good possibility that's going to be happening over the coming days. And that's the main reason why we're starting to see this system churn out. But as a quick refresher, just for a quick explainer, Fujiwara is brought to us by Dr. Fujiwara in the early 1920s. Two major lows will circulate around a center point, and one of three things happen. Either they are equally just rotating around one point, or one becomes stronger, the other one becomes weaker, or they mesh into one system. And that is actually looking to be the possibility. Where check this out. The one to the upper right is Umberto. The one to the near the Florida coast, that's Imelda. But watch what happens. You can literally see the rotation. It's caught an insane wind field. But once Imelda passes Bermuda, it looks like it starts to get caught up because Umberto weakens to a post-tropical low and it becomes one major system. This is not an effect to anything. This is actually just a really cool dose of rare meteorology that you don't see all the time. So we can thank Umberto, even though it is going to be fading out. The main reason what's dragging this out, just really hopeful that there aren't any major impacts to Bermuda, but that definitely looks to be the worst hit area from Imelda. So we'll see how everything does pan out with this because it does look like it could be a direct landfall.
So thankful that is not affecting us.
No,
this
seriously.
week. I mean, we are just lucky.
It could be a completely different forecast. Instead, I'm talking about leaves and Renfests.
Exactly.
And something to look forward to. Yeah, and especially this close after Helene's anniversary, I'm glad that we're taking a break.
Yeah.
I names are historic for just notoriously bad things, so I'm happy the way things are at least trending in the near term.
No Jerry in the near term.
We have no Jerry alerts over the next 7 days
Love
for
it.
at least now.
Right.
Good to hear.
No Jerry's.
All right, we got Roval and Panthers game to think about, you know?
Roval and Panther.
I know. Are any of you two going to either one of them?
I might go to the Roval.
Roval?
I might go to the Renfest. Although I
you do open weekend at
feel
the Renfest?
I feel like I feel like it's sold out.
Probably.
I know we have the Renfest folks coming in sometime this week into the Live Impact studio.
Exciting.
Ooh, I love the
Exciting.
Renfest.
I do too.
Oh man, and also like I tell people this all the time. If you have never gone to Renfest, you have to get there early. That
Yes.
parking lot is
Oh,
huge.
really?
But
Yeah.
it loads in there. Let me
It's
tell you
amazing.
what,
Okay.
It's huge, but you'll park way back
far?
there if you go mid-afternoon. Yeah,
Oh.
you want to.
Yeah. If you're all the way back, and that's also the problem is like if you're buying VIP tickets
Yes.
for like parking, if you're not there like right when the gates open, you're gonna get
You're back in
bumps.
the slums. You're back with everybody else.
Yeah.
If you pay
Okay.
for VIP and you don't get there early enough to,
Then you just paid for
then
VIP
you
for
just
nothing?
essentially, yes.
No, would you say like a 10-minute walk if you were in the back of the
Yeah,
parking
oh,
lot?
yeah.
Like it's
Okay.
deep.
So
You get your steps in.
You get your steps in. You get your steps in.
I don't want to get my steps in because you're already doing a lot of walking
If I'm
around
paying
in
for
general.
VIP, I want VIP. But
Right.
if you're not there early enough, you're back there.
Okay.
You're back.
But then that line before the gates even open, that's going to be kind of packed.
Yeah, it's gotten a lot better. I know that we've done stories on over the years where it was like one way in, one way out. Now they've
Yes.
expanded,
Oh,
so it's
okay.
a lot less of a headache. It's a bit easier to get in there.
Might do that.
The only times I've gone the last weekend of the festival.
Ooh, that's got to be crowded.
Both times I've gone. You'd think it'd be crowded. It really wasn't terrible getting in and getting out.
Yeah, I would definitely suggest that. It's usually the November dates that are a little bit better.
Right.
Yeah, just because a lot of times, well, it depends. It's kind of like October, I think it's the busiest.
Sure, because
Yeah.
they also have themed weekends too. So like you have like a pirate weekend and you have like
Yeah.
a
Time travelers
time
and then
traveling weekend.
It's so weird.
Fun.
I don't plan on this. We're 4 for 4 just picking a random weekend and it's Time Travelers weekend.
Really?
Yeah, every single time.
single time?
So I see at least one Marty McFly
I was gonna say,
every
yeah.
time I go to the Red
Is the
Fest.
DeLorean there? Kind of out of place for Renfest, but
Yes.
all good. How fun.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Yeah.
All right, maybe I do
enjoy it.
the Blue Ridge Mountain Drive this weekend.
Yeah, but see, that's also the other thing is the Blue Ridge Mountains
That's
are
gonna be
barely
crowded,
near the change. If you're gonna have, it's only Grandfather Mountain that's at its peak. So if you're gonna do that drive up there, go over the bridge. This is the weekend to do it because by next week it's gonna start to next weekend it starts to brown out. But it's at that point that you're starting to see a little bit more color change in parts of the Blue Ridge. So what I would do is personally, if I could plan it out for you, Renfest this Saturday, because
Okay.
that's a guaranteed great day if you can get in. And then Blue Ridge either next weekend or the following weekend.
Okay.
But also don't forget about apple picking because we're peaking that as
Apple
well.
picking too.
Yeah. So
Oh boy.
there's
Got a lot
too
going
many.
on.
There's
That's
too many
great.
things.
Fantastic.
If you like to get your fall fix in, you got to start marking your calendar.
Yeah.
now.
Got to do it this
You gotta
start
plan it
this
out.
weekend, first weekend of October. All right, Chris Mulcahy, thanks for bringing us our social
calendar.
Social calendar.
I try,
as
you know.
well as the good weather.
I also have a kid to entertain, so I'm very active in this.
That's
Social
true.
calendar's
Yeah,
back.
get them out. Get all the yayas out. All right, we are going to take a little break here, and we are going to come back with the mayoral debate that is underway, happening right now. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Time right now is 9:18. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. So underway right now is the Sarah Stevenson, the Tuesday Forum. We have streamed this in the past on district candidates. This morning, it is candidates for mayor who are having a debate starting at 8:30 this morning. Mayor Vilas making opening statements. It is underway, happening live right now, but we want to start from the beginning and get you caught up and play this for you here as we have it recorded on WCNC Plus.
For office.
Thank you, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Come on, we can do this better. Good morning. Good morning. So, I want to say thank you once again for the work that's done in this room every time you meet and making a difference. So, thank you for that. So, let me talk a little bit about what's going
I
on.
want you to use the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have 5 brothers, so I thought that I could just yell.
Yeah, we have a streaming audience.
This
is for the. And they
There we go. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Is it, you good? Okay, thank you. So I'll start again. I'm Vi Lyles, and I serve as mayor of this great city, and I have for a while served the city. Many of you know that I was a staffer a long time, and that staffing role gave me the opportunity to see how things could be done when we have a good city council. So I want to talk about what's going on for me and what's next. You will be honored, or you would honor me to be able to be re-elected this term. There are three things that I want to think about doing. One, I wonder how many of you remember when we had our first housing bond. It was $15, I believe, $15 that we said we were going to try to do that effort. The second one we did was $50 million. And then now we're going out at $100 million. All of those were initiatives that I worked on very hard to make it possible for people to have a place to live in our city. And we have much more work to do. So I hope that all of you will understand that I will always have housing for people, especially those now that are unhoused and what's going on with people that are sleeping on the streets. At one time, we were able to do something better about this, and I think that we just lost our way, and we have to find our way to do this again. The second thing that I want to do in my role is to be ready to have new jobs coming in. I think jobs are the way that people have the ability to have homes and families and to do something that's really perfect for our community, because we are fast growing. And in this fast growth that we're having, I hope that we will have opportunities for people to find a way to have jobs and a way to have a way to live. And then the final thing that I support greatly is our transportation mobility plan. And people say, why? You know, why? Charlotte has got a lot of things going on. We have too many people coming in. I've heard every argument for it. But the argument that I make for transportation and for the ability to have a mobility plan is that most of the people that ride public transit are people that are that look like me. And they have no cars. Now, most of you guys probably drove over here with in a car. But a car costs a lot more money than a bus system or a rail system. And I know that we've got to do something about getting people to work. And that means that we need to engage in a rail system or a bus system so that they can have a way to do all of those other things. A home for their kids, a place that they can actually say, I have a job and I'm working there because I get to work on time instead of being left behind. You know, these are the things, these small things that we can do to make it possible for our city to grow and to welcome new people coming in so that they can give us the ability to continue to grow in a good way. So those are the three initiatives that I have. Let me say it again. We ought to always think about housing, especially now, the unhoused. We need to think about jobs for people that don't have them now. How do we make it possible for them to have? And then the ability to move around the city so that if you're going to work, you have a way to get there. So I hope that you'll understand this initiative that I have and believe in, and I greatly appreciate the time that I get to speak. Natalie, that's it. Thank you.
How's everyone doing? Thank you for being here. Good to hear. That was surprisingly peppy for a Tuesday morning, a little rain. So I want to say this place holds a little special place in my heart. It's my second time running. When I ran last time, my first event, I just registered to run, 2 weeks ago. I get the invite, I show up. I think I'm just going to be like shaking hands and no, you go sit up there and you're going to be debating Mayor by loud. All right, throw me in the fire right away. But it was a very interesting, informative experience. Very loud, you were kind to me, and I've said this so many times, I appreciate that. And I remember she asked me, why are you doing this? What are you hoping to get out of it? And I said, I want to learn something. So then right at the end of the campaign, we were at the Telemundo debate, and she said, what did you learn? And I said, what I've learned is that most of the people running for office aren't as different as we're presented to be. Everyone wants the same things, and we forget that. We want good jobs, we want stability, we want safety. We don't want to have to worry about existential threats. We want to be able to deal with our lives and have these other things that shouldn't be on our plate pushed aside. And I think that I present a plan, which I will acknowledge, in some ways may seem radically different to what we're normal. I'm a libertarian candidate. Libertarian, for those of you who don't know, operates in a very simple philosophy. Don't hurt people, and don't take their stuff. Equal rights for everyone. But when you start to apply that, there are certainly complexities. What is the role of the government? When you're taking from someone and giving to another, the government's always choosing winners and losers. And I think where our city has room for improvement comes down to decisions that have been made in a central planning capacity from city council that have had far-reaching negative consequences that they can't acknowledge because of the two-party system. So you can't say I did something wrong and I have to get better because the other side might win. And so my platform, if you check out my website, prospercharlotte.com, the very first thing is voting reform. I would love to see Charlotte be a pilot for a preference voting program, even in some city council or similar type races. And all that means is that instead of voting for one candidate or the other, you either choose the people you like and not the ones you don't, or you rank people. It's nonpartisan. So you're choosing ideas, not parties. And it really gives a chance to get some innovation out there. The second thing that I want to talk about is public safety. Obviously, it is on everyone's mind. Terry Donovan had showed up, maybe he should have held another press conference or something, I don't know. And I do say that a little bit mocking. The sensationalism is not helping us. Again, believe it or not, I want to commend Vi Lyles. After the Irina stabbing, I thought your statement about mental health was appropriate. We do have a mental health situation. We have a serious homelessness situation. There are a lot of people who have become homeless through no fault of their own. But the fact is, when you get depressed and you self-medicate, people get addicted to drugs and they're mired in depression in a horrible situation, and it's really difficult to get out, and that does drive crime. So it has to be a twofold approach. We have to address the underlying causes of homelessness and crime, which are poverty, job insecurity, depression, and substance abuse. And we also have to have a more robust public safety response from our police. In particular, we have in Charlotte unrolled in the last couple of years a community policing program that has had some very positive results. We're in the top 3% of crime for major cities in the US, which is not a great stat, but we have seen significant declines year over year. I would like to unroll a full community policing program. Put police in a place, pay them well to take care of that place, not to make arrests, not to meet statistics, but to keep people safe, to enforce laws that matter. I would not like to see us spend $1 million on an MRAP machine, this is 2 years ago, that is a military machine that can breach buildings in the event of a bomb threat. That seems like a waste of money to me. Housing. We need more affordable housing. It's a joke in newspapers, everyone knows it is getting really expensive to live in Charlotte. How do you solve that? You build. We gotta build. We gotta pull back the city council's centralized control and just creating this hurdle to getting houses built, because more supply, when demand is there, lowers prices. This is very simple basic economics. In terms of transportation, I am very much against the transportation tax. You will read that it's a 1% increase. That is people that didn't pass math in elementary school. It's a 14% increase. It's a 1 point increase, and that is a big difference. Estimates are cost on average $240 a person. I'm not rich, but I'm lucky. My wife and I both have jobs. $240 a year is not going to kill us. But on top of a hyperinflationary environment that our federal government has given us, prices are shooting up. On top of other tax increases that we've seen in the last couple of years to do things like fund billionaires, tennis courts, and stadiums. And on top of the rising cost of fuel and the lengthening transportation, that's really going to hurt people who can't afford it. And then we're going to have more people out on the streets, and you're just less generational wealth and less of the history of Charlotte being able to build from that foundation. Again, I really appreciate y'all being here and listening. This is awesome. I'd like to just say, and like, you watch the news and everyone hates each other and everyone knows how to solve everything all of a sudden, but this is where it matters. This is the people getting involved and really dealing with issues, government for the people, by the people. having an opportunity to make a difference. So thank you.
Our first question comes from Ken Combs.
Seems only yesterday that my friend and your homeboy, Mayoral Ron Gibson, brought you by our home on Holly Street to introduce you to me and Hazel. Only yesterday. We've had nonpartisan elections, Rob, and that didn't really work out. Those who don't know the history are destined to repeat it. It's a waste of money, you say, until you have a bomb in the building, and that's pretty likely now. So my question to you is, considering so much of what you've said in support of or in endorsing some of the things that Mayoral has done, why are you wasting our time getting in this race?
So I appreciate the question. First, I would argue that any time a person is getting involved in politics is never a waste of time. I would encourage more people to get involved, run for office. It's not that hard to do. As far as the bomb threat and the MRAP, first of all, we actually already had one in the city. We're just never going to agree on the likelihood of that happening. You're more likely to die from a coconut falling on your head than from a bomb falling on you. I'm not going to spend $1 million on a coconut insurance policy. So it does seem superfluous to me. I was highlighting as an example. I also want to be clear. While Mary Lyles and I will disagree on policy, I'm not calling her out specifically. This is a city council thing. This is a broader involvement thing. There's a police component, and I'm making the case that I'm a different voice, that I will bring a truly new perspective that can shake things up a little bit. As far as nonpartisan voting goes, so how best to hold an election is a philosophical question that will probably last as long as this country. And there's certainly been problems with pure nonpartisan elections in the past, but the difference would be the preference voting. So you could still run as a Democrat. We would not say that on there, but the Democrats could stand outside and hand their little card out. The difference is other Democrats could run, and it forces candidates to stick with their ideas all the way to the end of the election.
Okay. Right. Okay, both of you, and every time I come, I hear a couple of things repeated over and over again. Affordable housing being one, homeless being the other. I'm one to believe that there are a lot of people out there who are homeless by choice. But my question is for those who are homeless because they cannot help it. Have you all ever considered developing some of these vacant buildings or anything and a system in which you can get the homeless people back and forth into those buildings so they will not be on the street?
Thank you for that question. It is one of those that follows us every day on how do we best address this. And there's lots of different ways that people see having humane treatment for people and how they're going to work. So, but let me explain, and part of this is what we're doing in terms of what we're trying to accomplish, making our city feel safer and be safer. And part of this is about how do we address homelessness. We're very fortunate to have a county commission that works with us. You know, there's ways to structure government, and generally what the city does is infrastructure, and what the county does is to help people and to make sure that people are secure and safe. So this time I want to say I'm really glad that we have a young man who's leading the effort for how do we address homelessness out of Mecklenburg County and out of our city. I don't know how to say Renard. I think that's how I call him, but I'm sure he has some kind of PhD and a bunch of other things on how he's working on it. We have been having a meeting almost monthly, weekly often, to talk about how do we address that. And he is now working on an initiative to determine we have to get people off of the street. I mean, because people always think that people on the street are doing harm. Actually, most of the time, those people on the streets are being harmed. And so we need to figure this out. And if you notice a little bit more around what we're doing on Robert Bearden Park, we now have walking police patrols there. We have now invested in go-karts. I don't think that's the right word for it, but that's what I was for go-karts. But we are going to have that kind of initiative. But I hope that we will be able in the next several weeks, maybe a month, to say to Dr. Renard, say, thank you, what do we do and how do we do it? And I think that those buildings are really important to consider because that takes people in a safe place. Thank you for the question.
You've been watching live recorded comments and debate comments from mayoral candidates at the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Morning Forum. We are putting a pause on that to take a 2-minute pause here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back to Live Impact News here on WCNC Plus, where you've downloaded the app to your Fire, Roku, or Apple TVs, hopefully, as well as your mobile devices. That way you can stream all of the live headlines as we see. This just recorded moments ago. We are continuing to play back comments and debate from the mayoral candidates for Charlotte Mayor at the Sarah Stevenson Forum. We'll continue with that now here on WCNC Plus.
So as soon as I saw homelessness this afternoon, tomorrow I got peace in the Middle East on my agenda, so just all the intractable problems real fast. It's a difficult question. If we could solve homelessness, and it has been a long-standing issue in the U.S., then we probably would have solved it. I think that if you want to solve a problem, you have to address the root causes. I mean, we treat symptoms, and we spend more money treating symptoms, and this is a problem everywhere in the country. And probably the world, but I'm more interested in the country, the state, and very much Charlotte. Poverty is a cycle, and there's a whole bunch of factors that come into it. It can create mental health issues where they didn't exist. People, depression, anxiety, that becomes crippling. You can't move forward. It lowers your performance. You lose jobs. People, substance abuse is prevalent amongst the homeless. But I don't think it's the whole, like, they're a bunch of drug addicts. It's people who are self-medicating because they're stuck in this cycle of a mental health collapse and then external circumstances that are just making it that much worse. One of the best ways to start to address homelessness is to make the city prosper. You provide jobs that people can get that can pay a decent wage and then have a house that they can afford to live in. You create the pride of being able to take care of yourself, the returns on work, prosperity, you're starting to produce things, and that's how we move up. And that's when we talk about, and I don't need to get too like existential or silly, but the American dream is the idea that you can move up, and the generation that you bring after you can move up another step. And that opportunity is just not there. I do think that lowering some of these taxes, not going through with some of these, like the transportation tax, that I think is really gonna hurt us economically. And I think unleashing development, and not from a bunch of out-of-state developers who are working deals with city council, but letting people buy property and turn it into what's best for them. And once you have housing, then people have a place to live, you start to create jobs, other jobs come, and the whole system, it becomes a virtuous cycle instead of a vicious cycle.
Okay, we'd like to ask you to stay seated when you give your answers because of the cameras that we have here. So now, next question is from online, and Mary's going to read the question that we have from someone online.
Okay, we have an online question. Given the uncertainty of the federal government, it is essential to continue to fund affordable housing with resources we control. Furthermore, the proposed transit system expansion will put more pressure on communities where affordable housing is vanishing. What is your specific commitment to maintain and increase the $100 million housing trust fund, and would you support a budget without it?
Yes, that's for both of us. I think it's for both of us, so I'll start off. The very first thing that I'm sorry. Okay, so the very first thing I said is that ever since I've been in the mayor's office, we've always had affordable housing bonds passed. And that's because you guys believe in it and you believe that the work we're doing is the right thing. And so I will continue to support, continued support for bond initiatives that help people live in housing, that help us have the people that we're having off the streets. Right now, Roof Above, which is where most people that are in help and have needs in that area of homelessness, they go there, but we need 300 more beds for that. We are a growing city, and it has a lot of growth that really means that we have to take care of those folks that are in our city so that they can make it safe for all of us to be in our city that way. So when you say, what would I do? Yes, I'm gonna always support housing bonds, initiatives for our work until we get it done in a way that we can kind of take a different model, but I haven't seen one yet. The city council often travels around to check what's going on, what's new, what's possible. But when we look, we've been all over. I mean, we've been to lots of cities and states, and all of this, as you said, it is just something that we've not been able to figure out how to make housing something that's easy and simple because of the way that we're structured as a city. So, was there another part of the question besides the housing portion? Because I will support housing initiatives all the time.
That was it.
Okay.
So here's something to think about. All housing is affordable housing to someone. We're not really talking about affordable housing. We're talking about multiple tiers of housing costs. And that's a much trickier question unless you're going to introduce rent stabilization, that crushes economies. So I got my start in being active in politics about 5 years ago, working with the Faith, Hope, and Love Church in Gastonia under Pastor Moses Colbert. And he ran a homeless shelter out of his church. And he kept his costs minimal because he provided a hot meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, a safe place to sleep with a roof over their heads, and counseling for substance abuse, depression, seeking jobs. In 2021, the police on camera tased a homeless veteran. His service dog got away, she was killed, he attempted to take his own life, it was a whole thing. When Pastor Moses, and this was someone who stayed at Pastor Moses' church, when Pastor Moses spoke out about it, a couple months later, the city raided his church, cited him for 32 fire code violations, and threw all the people out who had been staying there with a roof over their heads, a warm place to sleep, not a bed, but a place to sleep, and hot meals. For the prior 3 years in Gastonia, there had been no deaths on the streets of exposure. In the next 5 months, 17 people died of exposure because the city put them out and said, we're going to take care of you. So I'm very skeptical for that and many reasons of the ability of a city government to handle this problem. Affordable housing is always going to be a supply-demand issue. We can't create affordable housing. You can subsidize people's payments, and there's a lot of debate on how well that works. But what we really just need to do is build more houses. Houses will get cheaper. Older houses get cheaper. People buy houses that they can afford. We used to get a starter home, and you move up. You need something real small. Get an apartment. Get a few roommates. These are not intractable problems for us as a people, but I would argue that they are almost impossible to count on the government to solve.
Can I take a run of privilege? I want to say, when you say the city did that, it wasn't Charlotte.
No, that's good.
I know, I just want to make sure that we're not
In
saying
no way implying, yes,
that this
100%
happened.
yes.
Thank you, I just want to make sure of that.
I should probably have been on our
But I just want to make sure that that's happening and not happening in Charlotte. While we all know that it's going to be coming, we're in fall, it's going to be winter, and there's going to be needs for people. And our faith community has been the backbone of how we can house people off the streets and have food and someplace warm. So I just want to make sure you know that most of our faith-based partners make it possible for people to get through the winter. And that's very important for us to continue to do, because we rely on them and they rely on us. Thank you.
Good morning. My question is youth. And I know that you guys, the city has so many programs, the county. I think I would like to know if there's any way possible that the city, the county, CMS, the faith community, everyone can come together and form a coalition. The after-school programs and the programs like McCory Y closes at 2 on Saturday. Are you serious? So when can we come together to make sure that there are recreational, cultural activities for these children and character building and more mental health? It seems like those are the programs that I know, and even with the county, a lot of them did not get funding. I'm not sure, and maybe I should know more about the status of them with the city, but that's something I really feel strongly that we should be investing in.
Thank you for that question. I really, it's always tough when Carlenia says that there needs to be a possibility for everybody to participate. You better be ready at the door, because she's going to ask you to participate. So I want to say that you've done great work in our city, and you know how much I appreciate you. So let's talk about this. Right now, you're sitting in a place where we are having young youth people come and sit here, and this is where they apply for opportunities for jobs. And that's the number one thing. And when you leave, there are going to be young people coming, and they're going to have opportunities to work with our abilities around how do we get you a good paying job, how do you need to go back to school, what is it necessary. So we're committed to this, but I do think that all of the commitment in the world does not satisfy the needs that we have in the city. And I just applaud you for bringing that up, and I have a book that I carry around that says things to do. And now I got one more. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
So I think it's probably an even more important question than you realize, because it's not just the youth now, it's how are we allowing the future generations to prepare for adulthood and the stewardship of our city, our state, our country as we move forward. I actually think that, I'm lucky enough, my son's sitting right there. This is I will say, I admit a little sheepishly, but he was excited to meet Mayoral more than he was to hang out with me. There are programs, if you look, but they're spread out. Transportation is probably more of an issue than simply having the programs and awareness, and I think a libertarian philosophy, you're always going to find me skeptical, very skeptical of any government spending, but if we're going to spend money, if we must spend money, youth after-school programs are an excellent rate of return. I think we need to make transportation to get there easier, safer for children who may have to travel on their own, and spread awareness so they know where they are, from character-building sports to the arts to music, things that develop brain, teach people to play nice with each other, how to get along, how to disagree civilly, and forge the adults of tomorrow.
I do want to say one more thing, that we are very fortunate. CMS works with us, and when young people are coming out of high school, the city has a program where they are immediately employed if they did make that determination. They can go to college, they can do whatever they're doing, what they want to choose, but if they want to choose to have a job immediately so that they have needs that they need to fulfill, the city works with us, and this is the second or third year, I believe, for that program, where people come out and they've learned, or young graduates come out and they learn a career and they have a choice. And so in some ways, it's kind of like what we do to help increase the number of people that we need in our organization, but also it's a way that we can have young people have a place to go immediately after they graduate from high school.
Okay, our next question is from Mary. Our next question is from Mary Johnson. And what we'd like to ask our participants to do is, once you answer your question and give it to the other person, we'll take a question from someone in the audience. So, one answer for each one.
Okay, I do have a question, but I'd like to first say that I think it's very important that you have multiple people running for offices, because you don't want one perspective in an office, and whoever wins, they need to hear the perspective of the other candidates, because they represent a constituency of people. They represent people who live in the city. So I think it's important to hear from everyone in the city. So my question is, where are we with hiring and interviewing a police chief? And what is it that we want in this person? If both of you can answer.
Thanks for the question. Right now, we are in the interview process, so let me just say, I wish, this is how it works. The city manager hires all of the people that work in the city, so he actually is the person that will interview and hire, and then there'll be some kind of announcement. I'm sure he'll do a lot more of that. But I think what we're looking for is something that I believe the survey that he had for the officers, they said they wanted to have someone that was going to be close in, someone that knows our city already, and I think that that's where we are on getting this done. I expect that in the next several weeks, you will see the announcement for a new police chief. I hope that this is somewhat a place that he will or she will come immediately to talk and discuss, because you recommend so many things for us and the ability to say what we need to be doing. And I'm going to say that he or she will need to know what this is first and foremost. So that's it.
Yeah, I don't know where we are. I'm not involved in the discussions, but I just think that whoever we bring in as police chief should be someone who holds her himself accountable to the highest standards, sets a tone from the top, and demands that we keep the city safe while respecting the citizens, building a rapport with the community so that we're all part of it, instead of creating an us versus them mentality that I think ultimately leads to more crime.
Okay, Ayo.
Hi, good morning. Io Johnson, Executive Director, Mental Health America. Rob, you brought mental health into the conversation when you were talking about housing, and there is a direct correlation. I'd like some clarity on which one you think comes first, the chicken or the egg, mental health challenges or housing instability, and then for where are both of your positions on how the city can improve the mental well-being of all of our community?
So thank you. This is, I know we always say great question, important question. This is one of the most important topics we're facing right now. And actually, it's not just, I got lots of tattoos, and many of them stem from, actually 10 years ago next month, I lost my best friend of decades to suicide. My background is in psychology, and I have put a lot of research into mental health study, a lot of time. I don't think there's a chicken or an egg. I think it's a vicious cycle, and it just takes one thing to set it off. I think someone who is not straight over to the side of depression or severe anxiety, something like that, loses his or her job, can't pay bills, is facing an eviction, all of a sudden you have a mental health crisis. On the flip side, I think someone who turns 40 maybe even and just has a midlife crisis, and I don't mean to be glib, but like it can be the smallest thing, and all of a sudden they're in the throes of depression, which is, this isn't just sad, this is you can't physically get out of bed, you can't complete a task, and then you lose your job, and now you can't pay your bills, and now you're homeless. So what is the triggering event is a job for a qualified professional to work out with an individual, because that's how you get back. At a larger scale, to address it, I think really making sure we have resources available for people. And we're making sure to get through to those people. You can have 1,000 of the best therapists on planet Earth, and if someone is stuck in bed with depression or on the street corner using heroin as a self-medication, they're not going to get to that therapist. And so figuring out the way to make the connection, and this requires innovation. There is not a one-size-fits-all. Everybody's different. Every solution requires a different approach. But it's a willingness to do the work, to really roll up your sleeves and say, we're going to have setbacks, but we keep going, we keep fighting, and you will eventually make progress, because most people will come out of it under the right circumstances.
Thank you so much for the question. I'm not qualified to be able to say, accept these things that I feel in my heart. Is that I think mental health is really important, and treatment is even more importantly done, and we don't have enough facilities for it. We just don't have enough facilities for it. We are working on some of the things that we perhaps do. I just talked about Dr. Renard. I hope you know him well from the county that's doing this work around mental health and what we're trying to do. So I believe we need to have more resources for treatment. And that's a very tough thing to go, because to try to reach out, I think right now there's just hospitals and maybe there's Hope Way and a few places, but those places require insurance. They require something that's going to be impossible for the number of people that we're talking about. I think the jail is the biggest mental health hospital that we have. And I think that's unfortunate. But at the same time, I hope that there will be some opportunities between the city and the county working together to determine how we best manage this process. So hopefully, I'm not the person that's around this, but I also know how it is. And knowing that, we owe it to our families, to the people that we love, to do our very best to contain and make sure that it's possible for the next step.
Okay.
You're watching the Sarah Stevenson Forum this morning as they are talking to the mayoral candidates for Charlotte, the election on November 4th. And as noted on the side panel there, Terry Donovan, the GOP candidate, is not present at this morning's forum. We're going to take a quick break here as we come up at the top of the hour. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Good morning, everyone. Jane Monreal here with you at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. So every Tuesday morning, Sarah Stevenson holds a forum talking to candidates as we approach the November election. This morning, it is the Charlotte mayoral candidates. Current Mayor Vi Lyles opening things up this morning. Libertarian candidate Rob Yates is also on this panel through the forum. And GOP candidate Terry Donovan on the itinerary, but it doesn't appear that she is present at this forum that is underway right now. We continue to play this forum as it started at 8:30 here for you on WCNC Plus.
We just asked for no more of that at this time. So Donnell has the next question. We have quite a few questions. Donnell.
Hi, everyone. So it appears that the audio is down on that feed right now. We are going to look into it. As we do that, let's check in with, should we go to the Quantico? Sure. Carlene? What is happening live right now? President Trump talking to military leaders at Quantico in Virginia. And this follows Secretary Hegseth's comments from earlier this morning as they have a military leader event.
Because people aren't believing it. We need an honest press. We need borders. We need borders. We need an honest press. We need fair elections. I mean, those three things. And we don't have an honest press. We have a really corrupt press. But we fight through the corrupt press. And the people understand you have to do this stuff a lot. You have to go on television a lot because you can't get a fair shake if you're going to rely on somebody else. They don't understand. They've destroyed the image of media now is at the lowest point it's ever been. It's lower than Congress. Can you believe that? It's something. But together with many of you in the room, we've brought back the fundamental principle that defending the homeland is the military's first and most important priority. That's what it is. Only in recent decades did politicians somehow come to believe that our job is to police the far reaches of Kenya and Somalia while America is under invasion from within. We're under invasion from within. No different than a foreign enemy, but more difficult in many ways because they don't wear uniforms. At least when they're wearing a uniform, you can take them out. These people don't have uniforms. But we are under invasion from within. We're stopping it very quickly. After spending trillions of dollars defending the borders of foreign countries, with your help, we're defending the borders of our country from now on. We're not going to let this happen. Biden let people come in from prisons, mental institutions, drug dealers, murderers. You know, we had 11,488 murders allowed into our country by this guy who had no clue. He had no clue. He shouldn't have been there in the first place, but he had no clue. The people that ran the office, the White House, were people that surrounded him, radical left lunatics that are brilliant people, but dumb as hell when it came to policy and common sense. And they allowed people from all over the world, from the Congo. They opened up prisons in the Congo. They came into our country totally unmatched, unvetted, unchecked. and from all over South America, not just South America. You know, you think South America, no, but from all over. A lot came in from Venezuela. Venezuela emptied its prison population into our country. That's why they have Tren de Aragua, one of the worst gangs ever. But we took care of them. We took good, strong care of them. And I just want to thank the National Guard in Washington, D.C. It's embarrassing to say this. Now I can say it because we solved it, but Washington, D.C. was the most unsafe, most dangerous city in the United States of America, and to a large extent, beyond. And beyond that, you go to Afghanistan, they didn't have anything like that. You go to countries that you would think there's problems, they didn't have that. And now Washington, D.C., after 12 days of serious, serious intensity, we took out 1,700 career criminals. If you have 5 career criminals, they can make your numbers look very bad because they'll commit many crimes a day. But we took out 1,700, and they took them out. There was no doubt who the boss was. They did an unbelievable job. Then they started even cleaning. I said, I don't want them doing that, sir. They were cleaning it up. I drove through it 2 days ago. It was beautiful. People are walking down the street holding hands, man and wife, coming from Iowa. They're not worried about being shot. Washington, D.C. is now a safe city. In fact, I went out to dinner with my crew. I haven't done that. In theory, I wouldn't do it. And I felt totally safe. And nobody's been attacked. Nobody's been hurt. Washington, D.C. went from our most unsafe city to just about our safest city in a period of a month. We had it under control in 12 days, but give us another 15, 16 days. It's perfect. And people other than politicians that look bad, they think, you know, the Democrats run most of the cities that are in bad shape. We have many cities in great shape too, by the way. I want you to know that. But it seems that the ones that are run by the radical left Democrats, what they've done to San Francisco, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, they're very unsafe places. And we're going to straighten them out one by one. And this is going to be a major part for some of the people in this room. That's a war, too. It's a war from within. Controlling the physical territory of our border is essential to national security. We can't let these people in. You know, we had no people enter in the last 4 months. 0. Even I can't believe that. You know, we had millions coming in, pouring in. 25 million all told, and of those 25 million, many of them should never be in our country. They would take their worst people and their people from prisons and jail, and they'd put them in a caravan and they'd walk up. CNN was interviewing one person. Oh, why are you coming? I want freedom. Good. Were you in jail? Yes. For what? Murder. I said, you had to see this anchor, a young woman. She's like, I couldn't believe. She'll probably lose her job, but because the left doesn't want to hear that. But we're running it based on common sense and based on love of our country. But I want to salute every service member who has helped us carry out this critical mission. It's really a very important mission. And I told Pete, we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard, but military. Because we're going into Chicago very soon. That's a big city with an incompetent governor, stupid. They threw him out of his family business. He was so stupid. I know the family. He becomes governor. He's got money. Not money that he made, but he ran for governor, he won, and now he criticizes us all the time. And last week they had 11 people murdered, 44 people shot. The week before that they had 5 people murdered, 28 people shot. Every weekend they lose 5, 6. If they lose 5, they're considering it a great week. They shouldn't lose any. You shouldn't lose any. This is civilization. And he's always up there saying, we're in very good shape. We don't need the military. No, they need the military desperately. How about Portland? Portland, Oregon, where it looks like a war zone. And I get a call from the liberal governor. Sir, please don't come in. We don't need you. I said, well, unless they're playing false tapes, this looked like World War II. Your place is burning down. I mean, you must be kidding. Sir, we have it under control. I said, you don't have it under control, Governor, but I'll check it, and I'll call you back. I called her back. I said, this place is a nightmare. Probably, it's certainly not the biggest, but it's one of the worst. It's brutal. They go after our ICE people, who are great patriots and tough job too, but they love it. They love it because they're cleaning up our country. And so you look at some of the things where they took over parts of Seattle. They actually took over a big percentage of Seattle. Think of that. You remember that. That was a while ago. And I sent in the troops and they were gone. As soon as I sent them in, oh, when we send in the troops, if you have a real leader that says you got to do what you have to do, I put that out the other day. You got to do what you got to do because we don't want our people hurt as they stand by. I was watching during Biden, there were troops standing up like this, brave, standing up at attention, the way I should stand all the time. And I'm like this, and people are standing, and their mouth is this far away from their mouth, and they're spitting at them, and they're screaming at them. And that soldier standing there, he wants to knock the hell out of the person, but he's not allowed to do anything. So they just stand there and they get abused. And a woman was this far away from his face, and she starts spitting in his face, and he's not allowed to do anything. If it's okay with you, generals and admirals, I've taken that off. I say, they spit, we hit. Is that okay? I think so. They spit, it's a new thing. They spit, we hit. How about the cars, where the cars are coming out? They get brand new cars, Border Patrol, ICE, beautiful, nice new cars. And they're driving along, and they have to go through a gauntlet of rocks being thrown at the car. So here's this beautiful brand new car. By the time it goes 100 yards, it's destroyed. These guys have pretty good arms, some of them. And they're throwing bricks at full force into the window and into the car. It looks like it's a war zone. And I said, never let that happen again. From now on, if that ever happens, and I say it here, you get out of that car and you can do whatever the hell you want to do. Because those people are, you can die from that. Those bricks go through the windows. You can die. They'd like it to. They'd like it to go through the window. But this was a couple of months ago. They just kept driving and bricks are hitting the car. And I said, why aren't they stopping? Because they were under orders from the past administration, never stop. But that's different with us. We stop. And since I gave that order, we haven't had that problem. It's very interesting. It's amazing. It's just like in Venezuela. You've seen the boats going. We can't find any more boats. They're carrying drugs, massive. Every boat kills about 25,000 people. That's what they have. They had fentanyl mostly and a lot of other drugs. And we take them out, and we've taken out 4. And it's on air. Everybody gets to see it. Not that we like to do that, but every boat kills 25,000 on average. 20. Some people say more. You see these boats, they're stacked up with bags of white powder. That's mostly fentanyl and other drugs too. And now we have a problem. General Kane says, sir, there are no boats out there. Not even fishing boats. They don't want to go fishing. I don't blame them. There'll be no fishing today. But it's amazing what strength will do, because what we want to do is stop drugs from flowing into our country. It's destroying. We lost 300,000 people died last year. Everybody knows friends, many friends probably, that you lost a child, or adults too, but you lost a son or daughter because of what's coming into our border. And we're making it very hard. Oh, and we haven't even started yet. Last month I signed an executive order to provide training for quick reaction force that can help quell civil disturbances. And this is going to be a big thing for the people in this room, because it's the enemy from within, and we have to handle it before it gets out of control. It won't get out of control. Once you're involved at all, they all joke. They say, oh, this is not good. You saw it in Washington. We had gangs of Tren de Aragua with 10, 12, 15 kids. And these military guys walk up to them, and they treat them with disrespect, and they just got pounded. They just got pounded. The gang just pounded, then thrown into paddy wagons and taken back to their country. Some are so dangerous we don't want to even do that, because we don't want to. Some of stone cold murderers, we don't have the confidence. Even though they're not coming back very easily, we don't have the confidence. We put them in jails. But these service members are following in a great and storied military tradition, from protecting frontier communities to chasing outlaws and bandits in the Wild West. And our history is filled with military heroes who took on all enemies, foreign and domestic. You know that phrase very well. That's what the oath says, foreign and domestic. Well, we also have domestic. George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Grover Cleveland, George Bush, and
all right, since it looks like that video is frozen for us as we try to unfreeze the feed, we're going to take a quick break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Back in 2. Good morning, everyone. You're watching Live Impact News here on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Mayoral, where we bring you live feeds as they happen. And happening right now, President Trump speaking to military leaders at Quantico following Secretary Hegseth's comments from earlier this morning. We continue to dip in here live on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Focus on that, and every other country in the world was being decimated by COVID. So we had to change gear a little bit to take care of that. But under our leadership, the military is now the knife's edge in combating this sinister enemy. We have to put the traffickers and cartels on notice, and we've done that. And we put them, a lot of them, we've called them a terrorist organization, which is actually a big thing to do. Nobody's done it, but I've done it with a lot of them. It gives you a tremendous advantage. If you try to poison our people, we will blow you out of existence, because that's the only language they really understand. That's why you don't see any more boats on the ocean. You don't see any boats. Around Venezuela, there's nothing. As president, I will never hesitate to defend our people from threats of violence, from the horrible plague that's taking place from within. The Iran nuclear power, the Iran, all of the great power that we thought existed, we blew it out to kingdom. We took advantage of it, and we just really took advantage of it, and it was a beautiful thing to see, and that's what military power can achieve. That's why I chose Raising Cane. He's fantastic, by the way. I hope you all agree. If anybody disagrees, could I please have your hand? Who disappears that Raising Cane is no good? Just raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised. All right. That means you're okay. That means that he's okay now, but I saw his results. You know, he took out ISIS. I was told it was going to take 4 years. It took 4 weeks. I went to see him, and he took him out in 4 weeks, knocked him out, knocked him to hell. And I was told by military people it was going to take 4 to 5 years to do it. And I don't even know if we'll have it then, sir. These were the Washington generals. I call them the television generals. But Raisin Cain did it in 4 weeks, took out 100% of the ISIS caliphate. As a result of these actions and many others since my inauguration, we're witnessing the triumphant return of peace through strength. We have great peace through strength. America is respected again as a country. We were not respected with Biden. They looked at him falling downstairs every day. Every day the guy's falling downstairs. He said, it's not our president. We can't have it. I'm very careful, you know, when I walk downstairs, like I'm on stairs, like these stairs, I walk very slowly. Nobody has to set a record. Just try not to fall, because it doesn't work out well. A few of our presidents have fallen, and it became a part of their legacy. We don't want that. You walk nice and easy. You don't have to set any record. Be cool. Be cool when you walk down, but don't bop down the stairs. So one thing with Obama, I had zero respect for him as a president, but he would bop down those stairs. I've never said, da-da-da-da-da-da, bop, bop, bop. He'd go down the stairs, wouldn't hold on. I said, it's great. I don't want to do it. I guess I could do it. But eventually, bad things are going to happen. And it only takes once. But he did a lousy job as president. A year ago, we were a dead country. We were dead. This country was going to hell. We were dead in every way, from immigration to military. We didn't have the weapons. We were given everything to Ukraine. We had nothing. And by the way, I have to tell you, now, as you know, I went over and I met with NATO, and NATO raised from 2 to 5, which everyone said 5% of GDP. Millions and now trillions of dollars are pouring in. They didn't pay the 2% because they know we were there to pay it. And now they paid the 5%. That's trillions of dollars. And we're not spending any money on that war, not 10 cents. We sell our equipment to NATO. NATO pays us for the equipment, and they give it to Ukraine or whoever they give it to. They can keep it. But we're not involved. We have no money going out. Biden gave $350 billion. Not sustainable. $350 billion. And we have a war that should have never started. But we're not doing that anymore. So I just want you to know we're selling equipment. Our people are buying equipment. They are buying the equipment at full price, a fair price. So I don't want to say we're making money, because I don't want to be making money on a war. It's too many people dying. They're losing 7,000 soldiers a week. A lot of them are Russian soldiers, but between the two countries, mostly soldiers, by the way. Sometimes, you know, in Kiev, they'll lob a missile in or some drones in, kill some people. But mostly it's soldiers. Russia and Ukraine are losing 7,000 souls. And, you know, they're not American. They're not us. They're not you. We have a special obligation. But they're soldiers. They're young people. They leave their parents. They wave goodbye. And then 2 days later, they're blown up so unnecessarily. And so that's the primary reason I want to get it done. We got to get it done. It's crazy what's going on. That's the worst war that there's been since World War II. The number of soldiers that are being killed there is just crazy. From 5,000 to 7,000 soldiers die a week. Think of that. So I think we'll get that done. But that's turned out to be the toughest one. I'm so disappointed in President Putin. I thought he would get this thing over with. He should have had that war done in a week. And I said to him, you know, you don't look good. You're 4 years fighting a war that should have taken a week. Are you a paper tiger? And it's a shame, but I think eventually we'll get that one done, just like in theory, I want to knock on wood, because you never know. It's like we're going to have the Middle East done, which is actually a much harder thing to do. I mean, thousands of years. But we have to get that war done. So now just think of it, we're a dead country. I was with the King of Saudi Arabia, a great guy. I was with the Emir of Qatar. I was with the great leadership of UAE. I was over there. We brought back $2 trillion and more. They ordered 200 planes, Boeings. They ordered so much, and they were great. But they all said essentially the same thing. They said, 1 year ago, you were a dead country, and now you're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're the hottest country in the world right now. The absolute hottest country in the world. There's nobody even close. Putin said that to me. We met in Alaska, had a good meeting. Then he went back and started sending drones into Kiev. I said, I thought we had a good meeting. But it's one of those things. But we were a dead country a year ago, and now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. Think of that. You can be proud of that. And you must have felt like hell when you have a wife or a husband at home, and you used to read the numbers that we can't get people to join the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. You must have felt like, I have a job that nobody wants. That doesn't feel good. Well, now you have a job that is brimming over with people wanting it. They want it. And you're able to get a much higher quality because now you have your choice. You want so many. And we're going to have many, many people that aren't going to be able to join because of the fact that we don't need them at this moment. But think of it, what a difference that is from, I could just imagine 2 years ago, you're reading front page articles in the New York Times, of course, and Wall Street Journal. They always give us unfair stories. But they played it so big. They were playing it so big. Nobody wants to join the Army, the Marines, the Air Force. They don't want to join. They don't want to join the Coast Guard at all. Nobody wants to join. Nobody wants to join our police forces. Our police forces also. It's almost went hand in hand. And I used to say, boy, I'm speaking in front of the military today, and it's embarrassing because I'm speaking in front of people who have a job that other people don't want, but now you have a job that everybody wants. So I think that has to make you feel good. It's one of the reasons I love being here today, because I wanted to say that. I have to say that everybody wants to be in the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines. If you think the Coast Guard and Space Force, our beautiful Space Force, it's a whole different world. And now they're signing up, by the way, seriously big numbers for the police. Dangerous job, isn't it? Huh? Fire department. But that's the paving the way for progress once thought almost impossible. I mean, a year ago, you wouldn't have thought that was possible. A year ago, they were talking about making the military smaller because they can't get the people to join. We're thinking about making it larger because we have so many people. And it's nice to be able to cut people because of merit that aren't really qualified for any reason, a physical reason, a mental reason. You don't have to take them anymore because you have the pick of the litter. And they all want to be with you. They all want your job. They want to be with you. They want to work with you. They'll even take your job, Got to be a little bit sharp. You got to watch it. But everybody wants to be doing what you're doing now. What a difference. When I speak to you, and I can say that as opposed to a couple of years ago when I was talking to rooms where they were desperate to get people and they couldn't get them. What a difference a presidential election can make. That's all it is. It's just a presidential election. Yesterday at the White House, we put forward a plan for peace in Gaza. We announced it, and we're going to create something that was my idea, but unfortunately I got drafted. It's going to be called the Board of Peace, and it's going to reign over that territory, and we're going to get that done. And they asked if I'd be the chairman of the Board of Peace. I wasn't counting on that. I had the idea for the Board of Peace. But I said yes, and I guess because of that, every leader, everybody wants to be on the Board of Peace. And we're going to watch over that very volatile part of the world and keep it non-volatile so you don't have to get involved. We want to save you for other things or save you for nothing from that standpoint. We don't want you fighting wars, but if you have to, you're the most lethal fighting force in the world. And I would say that even 2-3 years ago, but now I say it with great enthusiasm. It's so true. And we're striving tirelessly to end the terrible war in Ukraine. And as you know, we're also working hard to get the allies to share more of the burden of our defense. Much of that has really already taken place. but all NATO members have committed to the increase that I talked about. Think of that. That was unthinkable. It used to be 1%, then we got it up to 2% in my last term, and they did not like it. And now I got it to 5%, and I get along great with all of them. In fact, they call me the president of NATO. I said, I don't think so. But they're great. They're great people, and they're spending a lot of money, and a lot of money that they should have been spending in the past. But I think Putin was a wake-up call for them, really. We're now selling large quantities of American-made weapons to NATO, and we're getting really fair pricing. We're making a lot of money. It's my hope that from Europe to Asia to the Middle East, our allies will make similar commitments to increase their military capabilities. And this will greatly strengthen our alliances, and also it'll make war far less likely. You know, if you're a strong presence like we are such a strong presence now. And I go around bragging about that. I said, we have the strongest military anywhere in the world. I say it. You never heard Biden say that. You never heard him say anything. But you never heard him say, did you ever hear him say, we have the strongest military? He doesn't say that. I say it. We have the strongest military anywhere in the world. We have great leadership. And I'll tell you, Pete and General Kane, and all of the people that I've met that have been lifted up in rank. And we got many of them out of here, too. I'll be honest with you. Didn't like doing it, but we got many of you out of here because we weren't satisfied. We know everything about everybody. It'll also help the United States rapidly rebuild our defense industrial base. Each of you can play an important part in getting allies to do their part. So to that end, Secretary Hegseth will soon be announcing major reforms to streamline military acquisitions and expedite foreign military sales. We have tremendous numbers of countries that want to buy our equipment, and you know, in many cases it takes too long. We're backlogged on all the equipment, which is something that's new to us a little bit. And I told those companies, you better get your ass going, because we're selling you a lot of equipment. We're getting countries to buy your equipment. You got to produce the equipment. Some of the countries, I'm not going to mention, but some of the countries are buying a lot, and that's a good thing. They're on our side 95%. I'll never say 100% because it can always turn, right? You know about that. But they're on our side. The problem is we have to get the companies that make this equipment, and we make the best equipment in the world, but they got to make it faster. We have orders for the F-35. We have orders for everything. The new F-47. We have orders for everything. They got to make it faster. A lot faster. Ammunition they have to make faster. In the coming months, we'll be making even more historic announcements to fully embrace the identity of the Department of War. I love the name. I think it's so great. I think it stops wars. The Department of War is going to stop wars. If we are as ruthless and relentless as our enemies, the United States Armed Forces will be totally unmatched in the future. We have a group of enemies that are very ruthless and very smart, but they can't match us. They can't match us. They don't even come close to matching us. Again, you know, it's very important for me to say we are the greatest military in the world, but we make the best equipment in the world. I watched our anti-missile missiles. I watched our Patriots just knock things out like a needle, hitting another needle on the stage. There's a needle up there, and you send another needle up, and it hits it every time. During the war, we went 14 for 14. We had 14, this is with Iran, we had 14 missiles coming at us. All 14 were knocked out of the sky, every one of them. We make the best equipment. From Sparta to Rome, to the British Empire, to the United States of America, history has shown that military supremacy has never been simply a matter of money or manpower. At the end of the day, it is the culture, spirit of our military that truly sets us apart from any other nation. Our ultimate strength will always come from the fierce people and those brilliant people with such pride and the unbending will and the traditions of excellence that have made us the most unstoppable force ever to walk the face of the earth. And that's what we are. Remember, we never want to use it, but we have the most powerful nuclear capability, and I call it nuclear deterrent of any other country, nobody close. The men and women in this room inherit the legacy built and won by Washington and Jackson, Grant and Pershing, Eisenhower and Patton, Nimitz and LeMay. We carry forward the majestic military heritage passed down from father to son, soldier to soldier, and one generation of warriors to the next. You are warriors, you know that, right? You're great warriors. Well, you wouldn't be in this room. You're the best of the best. From Concord Bridge to Fort McHenry, from Gettysburg to Manila Bay, from Normandy to Sicily, and from the jungles of Vietnam to the dusty streets of Baghdad, America's military has charged into hellfire, climbed up jagged mountains, crossed roaring oceans, and thundered across open deserts to defend our flag, our freedom, and our homeland. Nobody does it like you. Now we are discovering American muscle, reasserting American might, and beginning the next story chapter in American military legends and lore. That's L-O-R-E. It is lore. When it comes to defending our way of life, nothing will slow us. No enemy will stop us. They cannot stop us. And no adversary will stand in our way. They won't stand in our way. We don't want them to stand in our way. We don't want to even put them in that position, but they're not going to stand in our way ever again. You'll never see 4 years like we had with Biden and that group of incompetent people that ran this country that should have never been there. Because we had the United States military, the best, the boldest, the bravest that the world has ever seen, that the world has ever known. With leaders like we have right here in this beautiful room today, we will vanquish every danger and crush every threat to our freedom in every generation to come, because we will fight, 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 and we will win, win, win. I want to just thank you once again, and God bless the United States military, and God bless America. God bless you all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You've been watching live President Trump's comments to military leaders out of Quantico following Secretary Hegseth's comments earlier this morning. We're going to come right back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Good morning at 10:40. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We are just over 12 hours away from a federal government shutdown if they do not reach a deal. Right now, the Senate is in session as they address their concerns without a spending deal passed by midnight tonight. Let's listen in here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
To get back to bipartisan appropriations work. And that's why Republicans have put forward a clean, nonpartisan, short-term funding resolution to keep the government open, to enable us to finish that appropriations work. We wanted a completely non-controversial bill so that no one would be inclined to vote against it, and so that we could get back to funding the government the way it should be funded, not through endless CRs, but through thoughtful, considered, year-long appropriations bills. But, Mr. President, the Democrats just can't take yes for an answer. They're rejecting a bipartisan process and attempting to take government funding hostage. And I had hoped that yesterday's White House meeting might mean that Democrats are starting to rethink their plans to shut down the government. But it seems that their leadership, at least, is full speed ahead. Republicans, Mr. President, House, Senate, and White House are united in our commitment to fund the government through a clean, nonpartisan funding resolution, and then to get back to the business of bipartisan appropriations. And so Democrats have a choice to make. They can shut down the government and subject the American people
The pretext for this hearing is a farce. It's belied by the evidence, it's belied by common sense, and doesn't get this committee back to the work that I've seen done constructively in Congress after Congress, despite who's president and who's in the majority. We in this committee have done the work together to make our country safer. We are seeing crime going down, but that's little satisfaction to people who have seen their families victimized by crime. We have work to do, but this ain't it.
I recognize myself for 5 minutes, and Ms. Cook, we are sorry for your loss. And thank you for being here today. Thank each of you.
Hi, you've been watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I am your producer, Carlene. Miss Jane has stepped away, but I've got you covered. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break as we figure out where to go next.
Welcome back to Live Impact News here on WCNC Plus. Okay, so moments ago, before we went to President Trump's comments, we were playing for you what has just wrapped up, the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Morning Forum, where the mayoral candidates are talking this morning, Mayor Vi Lyles, as well as Libertarian Rob Yates. And let's go ahead and pick up where we left off moments ago from this morning's forum here on WCNC Plus.
We are working hard on sending out flyers, cardboards, all of this. But I agree with you. When you're at the end of the day and you got to come home and do dinner and you got the kids and everything, it's not exactly the easiest way to do it. So we also try to maintain the plans that we have on television so that you can see it and have that as well as an example of what we're doing and how we're doing it. But I think that we have to continuously work. Charlotte's growing and it's fast, and sometimes you don't even know your neighbor. You just come in and close the door. But there are communities and neighborhoods in the city that do fabulous work. They have people. So sometimes it just takes that one person that's going to knock on the door and say, we're going to establish a neighborhood program. And I think that there are people that will do that and will make it possible for us to have better communication with our neighborhoods, people that are aware of what's going on. It might not be the best television show on Monday nights, but somebody needs to be watching it, and if it has something to do with neighborhoods, we need to figure out how to make sure that we can provide that information to them, whether it's the staff or the neighborhood association.
You can't make people vote. You can try, but people get engaged in things when it matters to them. People do the things they're incentivized to do. And one of the reasons I am promoting the preference voting idea is that I do think it makes people feel like they have more of a direct voice. One of the interesting things about human behavior is that people will vote in a federal election, realistically your vote, 1 out of 150 million, you're not swaying the tide, but at a local level, you can really make a difference, your vote and your voice. And I just think we have to continue. This is another place, I tell you, we're gonna have some stark differences in policy, and there's some places where I'm gonna agree, and I don't think the city's done a bad job at this at all. We just have to continue the awareness. COVID made people reluctant to go out. We're still seeing a comeback from that. I know it's in the rearview mirror, but the aftershocks are impacting us. But I actually just think you will see organic improvement as people care more and more.
Good morning. This is really not my question, but it's my daughter's question. I'm gonna try to get some clarity and understanding of it. She did go to school. I don't understand what she's trying to say. But her question is, how do we address helping families, that means working class families, that is on the borderline of being homeless? And why do we need to build new buildings or other housing when we have housing that can at least be able to afford the rent? In other words, you seeing, right, that there are other apartment complexes out here that the rent is so high, instead of keep trying to put more money in building new housing, and which is never cheap anyway. And they're working class, but they're almost out the door because it's struggling trying to afford to pay where they already live.
I expect that you'll have a better answer for this, because I think what's going on here is that people have looked at our city, they've seen opportunities to have, people come into the city new. I mean, we're 157 people every day moving into Charlotte. And so that means if you're waiting for a place to live, someone can come in and say, well, I'll make the down payment right now. And you couldn't do that because you didn't have your paycheck until later. We have to be cognizant of all of these changes that are taking place. And I'm not saying we're doing it well right now, but we are really focusing on how to do it well. We've appointed a number of council members to be on this kind of initiative. For example, we have We have a faith-based housing initiative. Some of our Caldwell Memorial, and several of our communities are faith-based. They're going to have the properties that will be great properties, and they will not require all of this special income for you to get there. But we don't have enough of it. And that's why it's so important to continue to support the initiatives for affordable housing. And this city has always agreed. I think that it's one of our best attributes is that we understand that people need a place to live. And what we have to do is continuously focus on how do we make that possible for everyone. You know, I'm not quite sure what Living is going to be doing, but for example, they're renovating their apartments right now. They're trying to make it, you know, something that everybody would want, and it ought to be. It ought not be that you live in public housing without having the same kind of resources that you would have if you walked into an apartment building. Now, it's always going to be there. We're working on it. I can't tell you it's going to be solved, but I do understand exactly what you meant.
So I think this is actually a good point to mention. It's not all doom and gloom. Like I said, stark policy differences in some areas, but what I was going to say before about the mental health thing is we get mired in this doom and gloom, and Charlotte's not doing as badly as NBC and Fox will tell you. We've seen a lot of positive things, 157 people, that's up from 117 last year. People aren't coming here because they don't like the city. But it does create new issues. And so when you have one thing that people want and 5 people that want it, the price goes up. This is simple supply and demand. And we don't have enough housing. Just saying that there are available places, one, you can't just take people's places that they own and force others to live in it. Then you're instantly communist China. And I live there and I'm telling you, we do not want to be that. We need more housing. We just need more housing. There's a housing crisis almost everywhere in the country except Minneapolis and Austin. And the reason is they never stopped building. They just keep building. And they're very good at doing it in a safe way, an environmentally friendly way. They're always looking for innovative solutions, but they keep building housing. And they have 2 of the lowest homeless rates and 2 of the lowest housing costs of any city in the country. We need to build more.
Okay, let me remind Laura and the rest of you in here to silence your phones. My phone just went off. Okay, we have Samir, and then we have Gerald Patton, and then Winston. Those are our next 3 questions.
Good morning, my name is Samir Hamid. Leadership often means making unpopular decisions. Can you name one current policy that you would support even if it meant losing political support?
The one that I would name, if it means losing political support, would be housing initiatives and how we spend that money and where it goes so that it serves the people that live here the most.
I am unequivocally, openly, and 100% against this 14% sales tax increase.
14%. 1%.
1 point.
It comes out to 14%.
Okay.
1 percentage point, 14%.
Gerald.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, and thank you both for accepting the call to serve. My question has to do with collaboration. Yesterday, there was a congressional hearing here in Charlotte at the federal courthouse. And what I thought was going to be an opportunity to hear solutions ended up being a forum for political posturing. I wanted to know what would be your philosophy for bringing people together as far as on both sides of the aisle to come together to solve a problem and not use problems as a way to promote your own agendas.
So first of all, kudos to thinking they were actually still going to try and have some sort of positive discourse. I don't know. What I do and say stands to speak for itself. I've certainly voiced disagreements with things our city have done where I disagree, but giving credit where I see it, we focus on the person and not the problem or the policy, and I think that is by design. I think the media gets clicks when they're saying this person's a commie and this person's a fascist. I hate this person, hate this person. That's useless. It's useless, but it's clickbait. If you ignore that and you focus on the issue and you come together to work to solve problems, then the problems get solved. Then all of a sudden, all that clickbait becomes just background noise because people's lives are better.
I actually say thank you for that question because you're making me think about things in a different way. The way that I've been, really just thinking, how do we do the next steps and how do we make sure that people feel safe? Because we've been working on that so hard, but maybe we've been working on it in a singular kind of way. And maybe we need to invite some more people into the program. One of the things that I love most about my job is when people come into the office and they say, I've got an idea and it can be done and we're going to do it this way, and that is what makes us a special place. And so I now have a second one, besides the youth and this Carlina. I think this is, you're giving me something to think over because this time will go so fast. It'll be just so fast. We're going to have to make tough decisions really quickly on mobility, on how we're acting in terms of making our trains and buses safe. And I hadn't thought about it in the context of what do we do to bring people together in the room so that maybe we're doing it the right way, but if we're not, how do we give them the opportunity to check out what we are doing and make sure that it's what the community wants? So thank you.
Good morning. I got a question. So as a native of Charlotte from the West Boulevard corridor, now living on the Vegas 4 corridor, often overlooked communities, not to say that this is at the forefront of Charlotte's list of priorities, but I do know it is a looming idea. And I wanted to get your perspective on data centers. I live here.
I don't live in Cornelius, Huntersville. Where are the other ones that being?
Well, I mean, just the idea. I know Morris Chapel might have an opportunity, one is vetting the idea of coming to Morris Chapel. Is it Morris Chapel Road?
Chapel.
Right. Yeah. So again, just the idea of data centers coming within the city limits.
You've been watching earlier today the recording now for the Sarah Stevenson Forum with mayoral candidates Vi Lyles and Rob Yates. Charlotte Today is up next, coming up on 11 o'clock. Have a great morning.